Welcome to a brand new series on the channel. This is Test Pilot. So this is going to follow the old Poor Pilot Better Plane sort of approach. We're going to be doing some flying of craft and seeing how they go. The difference being that I'm actually going to choose some real life craft, and we're going to see some creations by different people on the forums, on Kerbal, places like that. We're going to see how they go. So today's episode is all about the English Electric Lightning. Welcome to the runway. So the first version that we're going to be looking at is the EE Lightning Kerbal scale by ScaryTerry. Links down in the description. This is a lovely looking craft. You can see the Lightning's distinctive shape and its wing structure. We're going to turn the engines on. We're going to get the brakes off, and we're going to take it for a spin and see what it's like. This, interestingly, does not have a pilot, Kerbal pilot. It's probe driven. So we'll see how that goes. It takes off nicely. I do not have SAS on. Let's stick that on just for a moment. So, for those of you who don't know, the English Electric Lightning was actually built in the sort of 60s and 70s. It's post-war, and it was Britain's sort of interceptor jet of choice at that time. It was sort of jet engines coming to the fore. And this is, as you can hear, a perfect little replica there of it for Kerbal. It is a beautiful looking craft, isn't it? Can it bank? Can it turn? Let's see what it can do. So we're just going to do a little back roll on it there, and it does it. It does it at a bit of a speed. It's losing a bit of speed, but it's okay. You can see that they're a beautiful image of the distinctive wings, and one of the things about the Lightning that, particularly growing up as a child in the UK, you recognised was the wings. It is very much a sort of a British shape. It's sort of it's a swept wing. It wants to be a delta wing. It's a really interesting shape. It was originally going to be used, or it was used as an interceptor, and the idea being that this is in the time when nuclear weapons and armament were a problem, and they needed a fast craft to actually intercept bombers at the time, and that's what it was developed as. So let's actually try doing some roll. Let's do some roll. It's pretty stable on the roll. That's nice. What's the banking like? Can we? Ooh. Turns around. Oh, we're losing height. Pull up. Okay. Let's try again. Yeah, it turns okay. It is a reasonably nimble craft. Powerful with those two jet engines on the back there. It is quite a few parts, this, and it looks very much like the original. I'm not sure it's going to get up to the speed of the original though, because the original could get up to Mach 2. So, and that's on, I think, on the flat. So I think this one's a little short on that. But then again, it is Kerbal scale, so take that with a pinch of salt. Right, let's try coming in for a landing. Let's cut the engines a bit. Let's get the gear down. Let's turn around. Let's come in. Now, is it glidable? Do we have to land it with engines on? I don't know. Let's try this. What's it like? Let's get the old. Do we have any? We don't seem to have any flappage. So let's see. It could be dropping like a brick right now if I'm not careful. In fact, it is dropping like a brick right now. So let's see. Pulling it up would help if I actually had the ground level on. Let's see it coming into land. Now this is where it's bumpy. That was terrible landing, and we're kangarooing. Let's just, yeah, it's. Oh, there goes one engine. Now what I will say, that's probably my fault, because, yeah, that's definitely my fault, because I've kangarooed landing. That's terrible. Oh dear. At least there's not a Kerbal on board. Yeah. Now, that's a nice one, and I will say the landing is mainly my fault, but it's a nice craft. Give it a go. Link down below. Let's move on to another one. Right, so the next Lightning on the runway is actually the KAS Electric Lightning. This is by KAS, KAS, on the Kerbal X. Feel free, link in the description as always. This is a much faster craft. Look at that. So we've got like, ooh, a lot of power there. Again, another unmanned craft. I'm guessing because the cockpit on the Lightning was not really sort of modelled very well in Kerbal. Let's see, can we turn a bit of thrust? Actually, no, just keep full thrust on. So this is a much faster craft. It's a lot smaller, actually. A lot smaller. It's fewer parts. Very nice. Both of these last two craft, first two craft, I've actually got the. I'll try and do this without crashing. If you actually have a look, the cockpit is made up of composite parts, multiple parts stuck together, and that's really nice. Now, the Lightning was actually quite an interesting craft in the fact that English Electric was not renowned for craft development, shall we say. It was looked down on by the other sort of aircraft manufacturers at the time, people like Avro and so forth. But this craft actually became really commonly used. It was a large production run of this, and it was used up until the late 1980s. So it lasted sort of 20 to 30 years, and it's still sort of prevalent in popular culture. So yeah, does it bank? This really handles lovely. The Lightning was a craft that was very fast, very maneuverable. Its wing design, everything about it was just nice. I haven't even realised I don't have SAS on. That's amazing. Yeah, it's a beautiful craft, and this I think does a real justice to it. Again, you'll see the wing shape there. That's distinctive wing shape. We'll put the gaze down because we'll probably come into land in a minute. Distinctive wing shape there. It's very much something you saw a silhouette of and you remembered. Again, here the design is actually used just like a canard at the tail or a tail plane at the end, and it's not really shaped it specifically like the Lightning, but it still retains that sort of that look. And we're going to try this is entire flight without. Oh, that was too much. Sea monsters, too much. Pull it up. Just we want to do that. I'm going to do that. Oh, now we've lost another part. And oh, again the landings. Oh dear. Good that it's unmanned. So yeah, that's the KAS Electric Lightning. That's a really fast, nimble little craft. I would recommend trying that, everybody. So let's try another one. Well, here we are with our third Electric Lightning. This is the Electric with a K Lightning from Andy441. Links down below as before. We'll start the engines up. This one, the wings are quite different actually. They're basically looks like standard connectors, wing connectors that have been put on an angle. Very significantly angled. I'm not sure they're particularly accurate compared to the previous two. I'd probably say the previous two are a bit more accurate in the sort of shaping of them, but you know, I might be wrong. The body of this is lovely actually, the way it's been put together. It has a pilot. I am in there, look, you can see me. But again, the wings I think are just not quite doing it for me. It does have a tendency to head upwards, but that's not a problem. Let's actually put a bit of SAS onto it, yeah. I think the KAS Electric Lightning I could fly without advanced SAS and it wasn't a problem. This, I think, just to tidy things up I would use it, because it does seem to have, I think, a natural tendency up. But again, you could trim that out if you're flying a long distance. You could definitely trim that out. It's very maneuverable. The flaps on the tail are a bit weird because they're sort of in the wing segments. There's no flaps. The flaps on the actual wings are underneath. That's interesting. Yeah. It's taken that concept of the stacked engines, it's got the structure nice, but I think just from an aesthetic point of view, it doesn't really do it for me. So I'd probably put this as third aesthetically. Saying that, you know, it's flying well. It's a bit slow on the turn, but again, it's a big craft. It's got a lot of weight to it. Fuel's running down quite quickly, but then again, I suppose, you know, interceptor doesn't need the fuel supply of other things. Gimbaling on, I think so the bottom engine of the two has. Oh no, they both do. That's interesting. Yeah, it looks so it didn't. Both engines are gimbaling. You could knock that off. Maybe it might make it a bit more interesting. Let's turn around. So yeah, it's a nice craft. I think I'd probably go with the other two first. But this, just for a knockabout, quite good. Let's see if we can crash this one as well. It's a tradition, obviously, now on this series that I have to crash every single plane. The landing gear on this are very narrow together, but then so they were on the original Lightning. Now, the interesting thing about the Lightning is, and we're coming in for a landing here, I'm going to crash, is that it was, at the time, the only British jet that could actually do Mach. Oh, landed. The only jet that could actually do Mach 2, and I still believe that it's the only UK design and built fighter that could do that. Oh dear. Didn't see that happening, did we? Yeah. Well, I survived. What we do get to see is the inside. So we've got a lot of clipping inside that plane, which explains a lot. And yeah, so don't crash this, because it will go horribly wrong. Yes. Right. So that was the Electric with a K Lightning from Andy442. Let's move on to another one. Welcome back to the runway with our fourth English Electric Lightning. So this is the Lightning F3 by Captain Roach, and again, links down below. You'll see it's got some air brakes on the back. I think the suggestion is not to use those, or they may actually go flying past you. So let's actually just get it going and see what happens. This one I think looks really cool. Actually, it's very small parts. It's used the cockpit, so I'm actually in it, which is good. I like the fact that the tail there, the engines are actually covered. I think that's really cool. Gears are mounted nicely. It looks a lot like the Lightning. It's got its flaps in sort of right place. It actually looks as though if I just do this. Is it? Yeah. So the flaps have actually been mapped properly as well. I like the air brakes. Let's just do. I think it's 3 for them. Yeah. So the air brakes deploy with a 3, and I'm told that it can blow those off easily enough. But we'll put them in. So let's take it for a little spin. Let's do some banking. Yeah. This like all of them. These are really great replicas to actually look at. I mean, the time and care and attention that's gone into these craft is actually quite staggering. No matter what I say about them. They're all capable aircraft, and they're all beautiful sort of creations. There were some that I looked at that were like close to 1,000 parts, and they were staggering. But to me, that's not really a practical craft in Kerbal to play with. It's more a thing to look at and marvel at as a piece of artwork. I'm not going to land just yet. Now this is interesting. It's another one where I've not put SAS on, and it's a little twitchy. I think we'll try a little bit of SAS on and see if it. Yeah, that's much nicer. But again, you can fly it without trim, without SAS. It's been beautifully balanced. Again, it's getting up to a decent speed, low down, faster than our first one. Maybe not as fast as some of the others. The KAS Electric Lightning was particularly fast, but they had sort of afterburners. Let's try and land this one. I think. Yeah. Let's see if we can. Crash. Let's try and crash this one. That's what we do, isn't it? Now its turning is not great. That may be because of the lack of authority on the wings, on the flaps there. I'm not entirely sure. I'll put the gear down because it's Kerbal. It doesn't matter. It's not the real world. Turn the engine off. Is it going to drop like a stone? Again, I have not put the landing thing on. So that's good. Let's try and go over the top of the buildings this time, or we could just land in the middle of them. That'd be equally amusing, wouldn't it? So actually, I'm gonna have to land just after them, otherwise I hit that. So this one I think is nice. I think you could probably refine it a bit and give it a bit more control, just from a flying point of view. Although it's not accurate having the wings, the flaps on the wings actually controlling height and so forth, pitch. I'd probably do it, just because I think this craft lacks a bit. The air brakes do come in useful to stopping, though. I think that's a real bonus. I'm not entirely sure the Lightning had air brakes. I'd have to check that. Maybe one of the variants did. I'm not sure. Nice little craft, though. I think definitely give that another go. And it looks good. It looks really good. And the wings are nice. I particularly like, I'm going to point this out, just this little inner strafe here that's just been added so that you've got the slightly non-parallel lines there. Very nice. So, that was going to be our final one, but I'm going to chuck in a couple of really small ones from previous authors, just so you can see some really small craft. So here we are with a tiny, look at that, it's tiny little English Electric Lightning. You can see just how small it is when you actually think about the size of the runway there, and it's actually using tiny parts. So Let's get it going with its little tiny engines. This is just over 100 parts, but also if you think about it, that cockpit, that uses a lot of parts. There's a lot of parts just in making it pretty. So let's see, it is tiny, isn't it? I think it's got the smallest landing gear you can have. It's got tiny tanks. It's got all that sort of stuff. Interestingly, it has the extra fuel tanks on the top that the Lightning was sometimes using, and it's got a refueling nozzle on the front. Now again, remember, the Lightning actually as a craft, as a real life craft, it had a long service life. It lasted 30 years. Personally, I mean, when I was a child, the Eurofighter was actually being talked about, and now we're actually talking about replacing it. And I'm not that old. You know, the Lightning had a good sort of stay as a craft in the British Air Force, or the Royal Air Force. Sorry, correct that. At a time when there was a lot of change in technology as well. The Americans, for example, went through a vast array of different fighters and approaches to things. And the Lightning survived all through that in the same sort of way that you know, the Spitfire really lived a lot longer than you'd expect, because it found a role for itself. This is a lovely little craft, though. This is beautiful. Tiny, no pilot again, but yeah, it's lovely. So we're going to land this one down, and this is going to be I think the end of this episode. So this is the end of the English Electric Lightnings. You can still see them on displays around the world, particularly in the UK. I'm not sure how many there are actually functional anymore. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that we don't tend to keep hold of. It, along with some of its sort of its counterparts of that time, just, you know, have moved into history a little bit. So yeah, but from me, as I try and land on the runway, it's been really fun. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you like this new format where we're actually going to choose a sort of plane and look at it every week, brilliant. This should be a weekly series now. Yeah, with that, I can land. Okay, I can actually land at times when I need to. Have a great one. Please comment, like, subscribe down below. Tell me what you want to see more of. If there's any particular craft that you'd like to see and have me look at, I would really love to do that. So until next time, have a great one.